All right. In this video, we're going to be going over the different payment terms for different size projects. So a standard across the board, regardless of the size of the project, we have 20% due at contract signing. Now, it depends on the area. For instance, California, you can't charge more than a 10% deposit or $1,000. Here in Georgia, as of now, we're charging a 20% due at contract signing, all the way up to $15,000. Once we get over $15,000, progress payments are required. So that would be 16,000, 18,000, 20,000 and up. Progress payments are required. This is a very important component. Any project over $50,000, you're going to want to consult with your sales manager to confirm that the payment schedule is correct. Reason being, once you get into jobs of that caliber, there are a lot of moving parts. So we need to make sure that's absolutely dialed in for the payment schedule. As a general rule of thumb, I would say any project over 10,000, the first month and a half you're with the company, bring it by the sales manager, bring it by me, have us approve them before you send them out, before you're reviewing the pricing with them. If it's a smaller job under 10,000, there's a little bit more room for error. Yes, with the bigger jobs, there's more wiggle room in the profit. But once you get into some of these bigger jobs or these commercial jobs, payment towards the crews shifts a little bit in regard to which crews we're bringing out there. So that's why it's something that you definitely need to bring to us, bring to management before you finalize and send over that quote for approval. For anything over $15,000, this is our standard payment schedule. 20% deposit due upon signing. So when they approve the quote, they'll pay their 20% deposit, whether that's by credit card or wire transfer, debit card, that's due upon signing. The 30% progress payment. We typically will charge that 30% upon delivery of road base and completion of dirt removal. Once we've done all the demo and the road base has been delivered, that's when we'll charge the 30% progress payment. The second progress payment, 30% upon delivery of turf and infill. That being said, there are some projects where the turf and the road base are going to get delivered the same day. Typically, we'll just break it apart in two separate payments. So you'll have your deposit. There's going to be a gap between when we can actually start the project and when they approve the quote. So you're going to have that first progress payment, and then once the turf is delivered, you're going to have that second progress payment. Again, if they're delivered on the same day, we're not going to charge them 60% in one day. We'll break it up into two separate payments. But generally, there is going to be a little bit of gap between base getting delivered, demo being done, and turf being delivered. So it's a pretty simple payment structure. I can have this on a notes page on your iPad, so you don't really have to necessarily memorize this, but it is something to revert back to when you're sending the quote. Because if you don't include this and they approve the quote before you have all this included, you're going to have them reapprove the quote. Because even if a customer approves a quote and pays a deposit, it's not essentially valid until a manager approves it or a contract is officially signed. So if we get it, we're not going to cancel the project. We're going to say, hey, let the customer know that you didn't include the payment structure in there. We're not going to have to refund them for the deposit because we can keep that existing deposit and just add the progress payments after the fact. So I'm going to kind of show you how to plug these in. So let's say the original quote that I had put together, I duplicated it. I added some square footage to it, so it's a little bit of a bigger size so we can get over 15,000. So we're going to go into edit. We're going to go into deposit and payment schedule. So let's say first payment. We're going to call that 20%. We'll call that the deposit. Second payment, 30%. And then we'll add in, I'm just going to copy and paste this to make it a little quicker. So we'll say 30% due upon delivery of road base and completion of dirt removal. Then we'll add the additional 30%.
Copy and paste this. This part here.
Boom. So we got the 20% deposit, 30% progress payment, second 30% progress payment. Tell you what, we'll add, make it a little more detailed because no such thing as too much detail. And then we'll add that fourth progress payment, which is the remaining balance, which is going to be that 20%. Boom. Save. Good to go there. So it's all cleanly laid out on the quote. Okay, so we're going to go to preview as client. So let's see it from their perspective. Boom. So it's clearly laid out for them. So if they go to approve and pay, they're going to see all of this in here. And these same verbiage is when you send over the contract. At the end of the contract, when it's talking about the payment terms, you can add these progress payments in there. Very simple, very, very simple for the progress payments. So my 2 cents on this would be when you're presenting the proposal from ArcSight, I don't think you really need to drive it home that we charge in progress payments. Say it's a $25,000 project. You went through everything in ArcSight, that initial mock proposal with them, and they say, hey, everything looks good. When can you guys start? That's pretty much the green light. Like, hey, we want to move forward. You'd let them know, hey, I got to send over an official quote for you guys to approve. On the quote, we're going to have the progress payments built into it. That's when I would tie it in. I wouldn't say when you're giving a spiel on the company, say, hey, we have 4 payments when you start with us. Leave that out. One other thing too is if a customer is wanting to pay by cash, check, ACH transfer, we take all those methods of payment. We do also offer financing. Our current lender for financing is WiseTac. It's really neat because when a customer goes to approve the quote, the actual perspective that they see on their end is it's going to say show financing options. So when they go to click approve quote, they can easily click on it, click our financing options. I always mention that in the appointment itself. Say, hey, we have payment plan options. The most popular option is going to be the 12-month with 0% interest. We have other plans where if you wanted to stretch it out a couple years, you absolutely can. The cool thing about the WiseTac is you're going to have this calculator once you're signed in on your iPad or computer. So say it's a $23,000 project, you can calculate all the different terms we have and what the monthly payment would look like. You can do 0% for 3, 6, or 12 months. Not sure why anyone would want to do 3 months when you could do the 12-month option. Totally up to the customer on that. So it's definitely a great resource to go through with the customer. I typically on every appointment when I'm going through pricing, letting them know that we offer financing. There's no sense in you not going over it. There are going to be those customers that's, I don't finance. I'm not interested in finance. Okay, that's fine. We don't have an issue with that at all. But there are going to be the customers that are going to hear that, oh, you guys offer financing. That's great. And those are the ones you're going to want to try to push a little bit more because maybe that's something they were interested in. They really want to get this project done, but they don't have the funds readily available. Or the 0% interest options, it's free money for them. You do have this as a resource, utilize it. That being said, if a customer chooses to finance, we still have to charge a 20% deposit. So they'll never really be financing the full amount. So for instance, it's a $10,000 project. They're still going to pay $2,000 out of pocket, and that remaining 8,000 they can finance. I tell them like, hey, throw the 2,000 on a credit card, get some points. We can charge the remaining balance of the loan. So I would absolutely use this as a resource. Again, you don't have to push it really hard, but I would at least mention on every appointment, bring up the 12 months with 0% interest. Say, hey, we got other plans. You could stretch it out a couple years, around 10% interest for them. And you have this calculator if that's something they're interested in. So yeah, so that pretty much covers payment schedule as well as financing options. If you need any more details, it's something that can absolutely be provided to you. And we could also send over some documentation to the customer for the financing options if that's something that they're interested in.